Hi Aquarius, my soul brothers and sisters. I am an Aquarius sun sign and so proud to be so. So thank you so much for joining me. So this is your Mercury retrograde in Aries special with me, Raphael Ray from Radiant Reality. I'm doing this because I believe that this Mercury retrograde is going to be instrumental actually in the changes that occur this year in our lives. And I say that because although Saturn, our co-ruler, and Jupiter have both gone retrograde, those are going to be sort of overarching longer themes that play out over the next 4 to 5 months. Whereas the Mercury retrogrades are short and sharp, they're much quicker, but this one has a real, it's got like a real feel of initiatory energy. Like, you know, this is going to be the start of something. This is going to be that big bang sort of moment. So over the next 3 to 6 weeks, this is what we're going to be experiencing. So Mercury, the planet of thought, communication, contracts, you know, text messages, emails, phone calls, conversations, social media, neighbors, colleagues, work, you know, co-workers, siblings as well even. It's the everyday communication and the communication that we have on a daily basis with those types of people, the people that we come into contact with. So Mercury, Aries is the sign of assertion. It's the sign of the soldier. It's the sign of the newborn. It's the start of spring. We've just come into the brand new astrological year as well. We are about to. And I feel like this is going to be quite an, like I said, like it's going to be an instigatory sort of nature. Mercury retrograde is a time of reassessment, reevaluation, re-examination. You know, and I've given this analogy for basically every video, but I'm going to share it anyway. Everything starts with a thought, that divine spark of inspiration. And, you know, as I said, I'm going to give a different example for you guys because we're Aquarians. So a cup, you know, in Stone Age eras, we used our hands to scoop up the water, or, you know, depending on how thirsty you were, you just stuck your whole face next to the trough like an animal. Man is an animal, you know, we're mammals, whatever. Somebody had a thought of, how can I get this water up and over there? Or how can I get this water without using my hands? They had that thought, and that thought was a construct. They created something in their minds and they poured thought and energy and emotion and everything into it, and bam, somebody fashioned a cup. And that's, you know, very much a mercurial thing. It's that idea, it's that creation of something, it's the thought process that you go through to make something real. When a Mercury retrograde happens, it makes you look at the thoughts that you're having. It makes you look at the thought constructs that you've created, because they're like the foundation that you tack everything onto to create things in the manifest world. The Mercury retrograde asks you to reevaluate and assess those foundations and say, right, you know what you want to create, or you know what you should be doing, but is the thought process behind it that you've created, is it strong enough to hold that? Is it powerful enough for you to, you know, does the foundations hold enough strength for you to add things onto? And that's the question that you're being asked, you know, with a Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury goes retrograde in the sign of Aries, which happens to be your 3rd house. Now, this is super interesting because today I had a disagreement with somebody who was actually one of my subbies on the channel. And I really respected her in a lot of ways, and today we had a disagreement. I will take my part of the blame, but I will not take any more than that. There's no need to attack somebody when they say they can't do for you what you would like them to do. You know, especially when they've given you a good enough reason. But whatever, you know, I've let it go. And, you know, the way that I chose to approach this actually shows me about the kind of energy that I'm working with and, you know, that I'm choosing to take forward. You know, the old, younger me probably would have been like, I can't believe you're talking to me like that. You can't say that. And I was like, just breathe it out. So what is your 3rd house? The 3rd house is actually the house of Gemini, And third house is all to do with communication. It's all to do with siblings. It's all the things that Mercury represents and rules happen in your third house. You know, and this is happening there. So this is about, and let's be honest, you know, Mercury retrogrades tend to bring up a lot of cross wires and cross communications, and it's what I say versus what you hear versus what I say, and where the two don't quite meet up and tally up. So I've already had an experience of how this is going to play out, and I'll be interested to see how it continues to play out. And now that I've had this precursor and that kind of mini warning, I know that going forward I need to continually check myself and my interactions with people to ensure that I'm communicating in the best way that I can, especially if I feel like I'm under attack. Ultimately, I'm still a human being, you know. I may give readings, I may be spiritual, but I'm still a human being. And I guess that's, you know, one of the things that I need to remember, you know, certainly in my communication. So, Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aries in the third house. This is asking you, you know, the chances are that you may have words with colleagues, that you may have words with co-workers, that you may have words with neighbours or even siblings. This may be you having understandings. The thing I have to say about this that really feels evident for me is it looks like somebody's going to tell you something about yourself that you don't necessarily like. However, like today, there were elements of truth to what this person told me, but there were some elements where they were just completely off base and actually being quite facetious. And that stuff I will leave. What they said to me that did have weight, that made me think, oh, actually, you know what, you need to fix yours, you need to check yourself there. I will be doing so. And over this next few weeks, I'm going to continue to be open to that experience so that I can grow as a person, that my communication may go through a change and a shift so that I'm communicating myself better. And more importantly, that I'm just putting my best foot forward in my communication, you know, that I'm being the best version of myself that I can be so that I can be the best version of myself for and towards other people. That's really, really important. So third house, this is also any ideas, so any ideas that you've had, this is going to be you really reassessing those ideas and saying, right, what practically can work about this and what is just complete fantasy, like snap out of it. Because Aries is the soldier, you know, it's the assertion, it's the willpower, it's the drive, and you know, soldiers don't have time for namby-pamby or, oh, let's skip through the gardens. I mean, you know, I'm a total hippie, so you know, I'm out there with my bare feet in the grass and, you know, hands and palms up to the sun and all of that. That's me. That's, you know, those are the things that I love. I'm a nature baby. I love all of that stuff. I'm a hobbit. You know, me and my partner laugh about this because we always say I'm a hobbit, you know, fairy toes and all. You know, I just love nature. That's, you know, that's my church. That's where I find peace. That's where I find, you know, I'm able to bring my bits and pieces back together. And what this is actually asking me is to get a bit more grounded. Not grounded, it's asking me to think a bit more astutely. It's asking me to think, you know, to examine. Like, you can't always have your head in the clouds. You need to be here and you need to be now and you need to do what needs to be done. The ideas that I have for some of the stuff that I want to do for the channel, amazing. But how do they work? You know, and are you able to make them work? Are you going to be able to commit to them and put the energy, the time and the effort into them that they need? And more importantly, are your plans solid? Are your thought forms, your constructions in your mind about how to make your cup, are they there, or are they just myriad thoughts that you kind of drift in and out of? And that's what I'm being asked, you know, that's what I feel like we're being asked as Aquarians, because this happens in our third house. It's about your ideas. It's about your, you know, it's great to have ideas. Aquarians can give you ideas 3 and 4 a penny. It's part of what, you know, we're the great inventor of the zodiac. But are they practical? Are they going to work? Are they, you know, do they have enough weight behind them to really become something? If not, why not? And more importantly, if not, you might just need to let it go. This is about finding, you know, finding ways to make plans for your future that are solid and concrete, even though, you know, fire isn't necessarily solid or concrete. Yeah, I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm trying to say. I would like to call into both of these decks all forms of love, like peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. Let's see what you get. Oh wow, look at that. So the numerology is tallied right up. This happens in our 3rd house and we get the Empress. It's funny because I was talking about things that are lush and fertile, toes in the grass and all of that stuff. So this card is actually blessed by Venus, and what it reminds you is that you need to see the beauty in everything. What it reminds you of is that you need to create a fertile ground for your ideas. It reminds you that to have a fertile ground, you need a seed, you know, because ultimately masculine energy is Aries energy. And when you put that seed into the ground, it gestates. But it's not just a case of plant the seed and then fuck off and let it go. Don't get me wrong, you know, nature takes care of its own. But the whole point is nurturing, nourishment. And this is about finding ways to nurture and nourish your mind, but more importantly, to nurture and nourish your ideas. If you have an idea and you believe in it strongly enough to support it, then you need to mother that, you need to nurture it, you need to grow it and make it into something that has weight, into something that has a chance of survival. You know, when you birth something, as the number 3s do in the tarot, when you birth something, you have to nurture that thing, you have to watch it come up, you know, and this is exactly that. It's why when you grow a sapling, you know, you keep it indoors and you keep it protected and you give it food and water, and then when it's big enough you say, right, okay, now I can put you where you're supposed to be and you will do the rest on your own. But it's those beginning moments, that's kind of what I feel like is happening here for us, Aquarius. You know, we're having this moment of really tapping into what our ideas are and how amazing they can be, but understanding that you need to really have thought them through and understand how they're going to work for you. And more importantly, how it is that you need to nurture them in order to make them work. I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you very soon for the monthly readings. Take care.